It took me 6 years to figure out how to successfully declutter sentimental items, and the solution does not involve asking, does this spark joy? No, the solution is a 4-step workflow where each step is made up of a series of questions, thoughts, or actions that will help you process your emotions in relation to your sentimental items and make the right decisions. You see, on this channel, I'm on a mission to help you experience a fuller life with less clutter and more clarity. And often, sentimental items are that one thing that can cause a major hiccup in our progress or bring us to a complete stop altogether. So for the next few minutes, I'm going to break down these 4 steps, how they work, and what you can expect if you choose to adopt this simple and repeatable system into your life. The first step in this workflow is head, which is all about starting with the right mindset. As Carol Dweck says in her book, Mindset, mindsets are just beliefs. They're powerful beliefs, but they're just something in your mind, and you can change your mind. So as I was developing this workflow, I wanted to include something that would really challenge my beliefs and force me to think differently about the sentimental items in my life. And there are a few different ways I approach this. One of those ways is through asking the right questions. And in my opinion, does this spark joy is not the right question. Instead, I found much more success when I would ask questions like, is this causing friction within my family? Do I feel obligated to keep this? Can I realistically use this or repurpose it in some way? If I lost it, would I actively be searching for it? Or has it become a financial or spatial burden? See, asking questions only gets you so far on this journey. So in addition to this, the first step in this workflow is also about determining what's worth more, which is probably the biggest mindset shift we need to make. Often, I've seen people overvalue their possessions. And regardless if it's sentimental or not, there's a major lesson we have to learn about stuff. And that lesson is this. The objects in our life don't have hands. They're not holding on to us. They're not emotionally attached to us. We're the ones with the tight grip. We're the ones that have to learn to let go. And when we can begin to understand this, we'll start to wonder about what's worth more, ourselves or our possessions. The second step in this workflow is mouth. Now, there are multiple moving pieces within this step, so I'm going to do my best to keep it organized for you. For starters, I'm a firm believer that there is power in the tongue. So the things you say can either be used as a weapon to harm and destroy, or as a tool to build and heal. So in trying to decide what to do with the sentimental items in your life, it is critical that you are being mindful of your language and using words that will help you build the vision you have for your life. A vision that embodies less clutter and more clarity. Take, for example, if you are constantly telling yourself that you will never be able to face your emotions and deal with the sentimental items in your life, then guess what? That word never will quickly destroy any hope or faith you had to succeed, and you will never be able to do it. Additionally, this second step within this sentimental item workflow, as I call it, is also about declaring your vision, which I briefly talked about, and making firm decisions with confidence and clarity. Now, hopefully, you're starting to see how this workflow from the very beginning comes together and builds on top of itself. It starts with your mindset and asking the right questions, questions that would challenge you to think differently. From there, it flows to your mouth, being mindful of your language and self-talk, making firm decisions and speaking your vision into existence. Following that is the hardest step of the 4, heart. This is where we address the emotions themselves and the ties attaching them to various items in our life. Thinking back to some of the most challenging moments I had while decluttering, there were 3 emotions that stood out above the rest: overwhelm, guilt, and embarrassment. Now, at the time, I had no idea how to handle these emotions. But as I've learned and managed to overcome them, it was apparent to me that these things needed to be talked about more. So the first piece within this third step is minimizing feelings of overwhelm. When clutter, especially something sentimental, is emotionally overwhelming, our first response is to retreat. I don't like this feeling, I don't feel in control, and I don't want to continue in this direction. However, retreating doesn't help us reach what we want to achieve: less clutter and more clarity. So we have to learn to give ourselves grace and space to take our time. The second piece within this step is to ditch the guilt. Here's something I want you to remember. You are not obligated to keep heirlooms or sentimental items. The guilt you feel is because you're worried someone will judge you or dislike you if you don't keep it. Remember, the decision is yours, and as long as you're at peace emotionally, then that's a solid sign that you've made the right decision. Now, the final piece in this step is to stop feeling embarrassed. Prior to figuring out this 4-step workflow and getting comfortable with the idea of owning less, I faced a bit of embarrassment myself. At the very beginning of my journey, when I first started sharing that I was practicing minimalism, there was a thought in the back of my mind where I was worried that others would question how much I owned. However, there are 2 major lessons I took from this, and now I'm passing them on to you. Number 1, run your race at your own pace. It doesn't matter how much stuff you're starting with or how slow your progress is. As long as you're pushing forward, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. And number two, stop judging yourself so you can more accurately ignore other people's opinions. All right, the fourth and final step within this sentimental item workflow is hand. When it comes to items we're emotionally attached to, our instinct is to grip them tighter, to hold them so close that we worry very little about losing them or forgetting they exist. But here's a question for you. How can you truly enjoy something you're so attached to with a closed fist? At the very beginning of this conversation, I mentioned a lesson we have to learn about stuff. If you don't remember, scroll back and take another listen. You see, there's absolutely nothing wrong with keeping a reasonable amount of items you truly love and enjoy. But as I've said, you can't truly enjoy them with a closed fist. So your best bet when it comes to changing this is learning to loosen your grip. You have to be willing to part with things you don't need, so that way you can enjoy what truly matters most to you. Sentimental items work the exact same way. Now, though your emotions may create a few roadblocks and encourage you to tighten your grip, you have to fight that urge by keeping an open hand. Remember, if everything you own holds sentimental value, then nothing is truly sentimental to you. And at that point, you're just hoarding clutter rather than choosing to keep what matters with absolute clarity. Now, if you still feel a bit overwhelmed by this whole decluttering idea, then I made a video just for you that you can watch next by clicking this thumbnail. I share the best tips you haven't heard, and that's not coming from me. It's coming from everyone else in the comments. Keep growing, keep learning, and always stay true to you. I see you over there. Peace.